is text 32. Text 32.
Okay.
Alright, I'll read the Sanskrit. Atmopamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham bhayati bhadukam sayogi paramo mata. Atma. We can do word for word. Atma.
Atma.
Self.
Self.
Apamyena. By comparison.
By comparison.
Sarvatra.
Sarvatra.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Samam.
Samam.
Equality.
Equality.
Pashyati.
Pashyati.
Sees.
Sees.
Ya.
Ya.
He who.
He who.
Arjuna.
Arjuna.
Oh Arjuna.
O Arjuna.
Sukham.
Sukham.
Happiness.
Happiness.
Va.
Va.
Or. Yadi.
Yadi.
If.
If.
Va.
Va.
Or.
Dukham.
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 Distress.
Distress.
Sa.
Sa.
Such.
Such.
Yogi.
Yogi.
Transcendentalist.
Transcendentalist.
Parama.
Parama.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Mata.
Mata.
Considered.
Considered.
Translation. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings, both in their happiness and distress. O Arjuna. Purport by his... Yeah. Okay. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Yeah.
One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being. Krishna is the proprietor of all lands and planets. The perfect yogi is the sincerest friend of all living entities. He knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. Because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Na tasmat kashtime priyakritama. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. Pamaganatmirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurvanmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupakadamayam Darati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shutaparkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shupam Sagradatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamstra Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurane Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Panchakapati Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Atma Pamyena Sarvatra Samam Pashyati Arjuna Sukham Bhayati Dukham Sayogi Paramo Mata. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings, both in their happiness and distress, O Arjuna. So Krishna is talking about how this verse very much relates to the empathy principle. Right? It's about understanding others and their happiness and distress. And in the purport, Prabhupada says that a Krishna conscious person, perfect yogi, is aware, is conscious of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. So Prabhupada's not saying, Krishna not saying that if you're an enlightened yogi, then there's no emotion. No, there's the whole continuum of emotion. And to the extent that we're conscious of our own process, then that's going to help us to understand others. So this is a platform for conscious living and for Krishna consciousness, starting with consciousness of ourself in comparison to his own self. I recall there's a PhD in religious studies. He was teaching at the University of Florida. I don't know where he's at now. His name is Michael Gressett, also known as Mahasaumya Das.
He's in California now.
He's in California? Okay.
With his daughter.
With his daughter? Nice.
It's on Facebook. Tulsi Sevaka is his pseudonym.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Okay. So he's a Satvatove graduate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's a great supporter. He wrote an endorsement for our book, Relationships That Work.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually his wife took the courses in the summer of '09. And he was very cynical and skeptical.
Huh.
But then he actually read the book and he goes, wow, the book was life-changing for him. And then he took the courses and anyway.
Nice.
So getting back to the verse.
Yeah.
So
the more we understand our own processes, the more we can understand them.
We can understand others. And it is said, the Christian philosopher Paul Tillich said, the first duty of love is to listen. It means to understand. He said, people don't care what you know till they know that you care. A way to show that we care is to show understanding. And otherwise we can have all this logic and philosophy, but if people don't get that we care, they're going to tend... if I don't get that you care, I'm going to tend to not be real open to what you have to say.
Yeah.
And that could be my shortcoming, but that's the way human beings work.
Mm-hmm.
So Krishna's addressing that here.
Mm-hmm.
So, in Mahasaumya's dissertation, he actually has a whole section on Satvatove in his PhD dissertation. And anyhow, he talks about, he has a friend, Nimai, maybe Gora you know, it's Nimai Hemphill.
Oh, he was in our course.
There you go. So you know him very well. Back in 2004, yeah.
He's like a Guru Kuli.
He's a Guru Kuli, probably in his 40s now.
Right.
Soon we'll have the Guru Kuli retirement plans. So Gressett is PhD, and he tells the story. His neighbor and good friend is Nimai. Nimai is like a construction worker, carpenter. And it's like in the devotee community. Well, they're in Alachua, or San Diego, or wherever. And Nimai came to Gressett and said, the people in this community don't understand the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita. So Gressett is like, what's the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita? So we were thinking, Dehinosmin, Yatadehe, and the ABC is different. But Nimai said, no. The first lesson of Bhagavad Gita is to feel your feelings and express them.
To what you're feeling?
To feel your feelings.
Feel your feelings.
Before chapter 2, we have Arjuna. And that was quite courageous for Arjuna, because Arjuna's feelings and thoughts and what his physical sensations, actually they were quite embarrassing for a mighty warrior. Right? He's feeling weak. He's breaking down in tears, he's trembling, he's scared, he's soft-hearted,
confused.
Yeah, it's like it really goes. It really goes against the whole image of like a mighty, clear-minded warrior. So you can. Takes quite a lot of courage for Arjuna to experience his experience, and he not just experienced it; he communicated it to Krishna. Didn't withhold like that. And then we can, of course, in the pastime, Arjuna is an illusion, and all of that. But the point is that Arjuna, experiencing his experience and communicating it, that becomes the seed, that becomes the catalyst of the profound philosophical treatise that becomes Bhagavad Gita. So it starts with Arjuna experiencing his experience and communicating. And Krishna, of course, Arjuna and Krishna already have a profoundly deep level of trust. But Krishna is giving Arjuna space to express. And Arjuna feels received and understood. And then Krishna says, Achojana Vashashastram, Prabhivadam Basaseja, Gatasuna Gatasunasja, Nalaso Santi Pandita. Says, well, you're a fool. But
says what?
He says, you're a fool.
You're a fool, okay.
You're speaking learned words.
Yeah.
But you're speaking learned words. And for that which is, you're grieving for that which is not worthy for grief. And then that starts the philosophical part. Okay. So, for me, this verse, so we see Arjuna was very self-aware. He was very self-aware. And we can learn from this in the sense of, if to the extent we're lacking self-awareness and we're trying to preach Krishna consciousness, people will get it energetically, that like there's something empty. There's something, maybe even we're avoiding ourselves, and we're running away to some philosophy or something. People will feel it. So, Krishna is emphasizing self-awareness. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings, both in their happiness and distress. So it means we understand ourselves, because we're all different people with different life experiences. At the same time, it's all shared. Right? We've all experienced shame. We've all experienced feeling humiliated. We've all experienced joy. We've all experienced affection. We've all experienced confidence. We've all experienced rage in our heart. We've all experienced envy and jealousy, and we've all experienced relief and freedom and peace. Right? So the story might be different, but the so and when someone's received, when someone's really understood, then when I'm really understood, then I'm a lot more open to hear what you have to say. And when someone's received, as Arjuna is by Krishna, then growth naturally happens. Growth means the soul turning towards itself in self-awareness, the soul turning towards its source in loving devotion. And that, just like a plant, will naturally grow if the soil is right, and the water and the sunlight and the nutrients. So when we're received in that space, then the soul naturally grows in self-awareness and ultimately grows towards source. So, I think Prabhupada makes the point, because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. So this is natural, because sometimes, of course, like the term preaching It's a very politically incorrect term. I know in most of my circles, I don't say, we don't talk about
I'm
preaching.
here to preach to you today.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't use that term. Of course, Prabhupada uses it, pure, so we understand. So we usually we use terms like to share,
Right.
to educate, to share my realizations, to education,
To have dialogue.
dialogue, engage in dialogue. Yeah. Right. So we use different terms to connect with you. But the point is, whatever we call it, that it's natural, just like whatever. If a child has a good lollipop, we say, "Well, I want you to taste this lollipop. Or, I'm having fun with it on this ride. You go." Just like we have something good, we want to share it.
Sure.
It's just natural. Now, okay, as far as the criticism of preaching, sure, we can look at that. Like, if we're feeling insecure in ourselves, and then we need others to be like us because of my own insecurity, yeah, then that shows our lack of spiritual realization, our lack of fulfillment, our lack of joy. And like, I'm trying to get some gratification because I'm feeling empty inside because I'm not really connected with Prabhupada and the Parampara. So I need you to be like me. And then that, whether it's amongst those who identify as devotees or Christian preachers, we've all felt that. Where it's like, this isn't so much about your compassion for me. This is more about like your need for others to be like you so you feel secure.
Confirmation.
Yeah, confirmation. So, of course our ideal example is Srila Prabhupada. He didn't have any anartha like that. And he went from a place where everyone was a devotee of Krishna, and he left, and he went to a place where no one's a devotee of Krishna, and Prabhupada had no like ahankara need for others to be like him. Prabhupada didn't sail on the Jaladuta so he could be seen as the most compassionate Gaudiya Vaishnava, or there was just nothing like that. Nothing like that. He'll be number one, or he'll show them.
I'll show my God.
Yeah, there was nothing like that.
They said I was a rotten ground.
Yeah, he said it was, exactly. Prabhupada, he had bliss beyond what we can conceive. Naturally wants to share in the spirit of Prahlad Maharaj. So that's the spirit of preaching. We might not use the term preaching because people will react and they won't hear what we have to say and all of that. But that's the spirit. That's the spirit of preaching. And in a sense, like Prabhupada made devotees, but Prabhupada made devotees. We're here on Burnham Street in Montreal because Prabhupada said on the Jaladuta. And so, but Prabhupada left Vrindavan where everyone was a devotee, and he came to Butler, Pennsylvania, New York, landed in Boston. But Prabhupada saw everyone's a devotee. Everyone is pure gold. He'd say, "Oh, these are the karmis." Of course, sometimes philosophically we make terms based on someone's being. But he said everyone's pure gold, and the gold is covered by the modes, and so he was just. It was like the deepest empathy. Prabhupada speaking to everyone. He's speaking to that pure diamond. And then the pure diamond naturally shines. So he knew how to do that because he's connected with the source of all diamonds.
He fanned the spark.
He fanned the spark, whether he was talking to the postman or whether he was, giving a talk. So that's our example. And our opportunity. Krishna Pradesh, Amaragar Guru Hantar Age. Wherever we are, we endeavor to fan the spark. And that might mean quoting a Bhagavad Gita verse. It might mean saying, "Hello, good morning." There's the morning walk, at least one morning walk, where there was like some joggers passing by, and Prabhupada greeted them with "Good morning." And later, a disciple said, "Well, why didn't you say Hare Krishna? Wouldn't that be more auspicious?" Which Prabhupada didn't answer. It's like, Prabhupada knew to fan the spark in that spirit soul, good morning is going to work better than Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Right, so that's intelligence, that's time, circumstance, and person. Using our discretion about, because there's one letter to a disciple in Prabhupada. He writes, he says, the highest development of your Krishna consciousness understanding will be when you're able to present these principles in such a way that everyone responds positive. For me, that very much integrates with this verse. It means, because this verse is about understanding someone else and their happiness, their distress, their human experience. Understanding there's a spirit soul having a human experience. Talking to the soul while empathizing with the human experience. So similarly, when Prabhupada said the highest development of your Krishna conscious understanding is when you can present these eternal universal principles in such a way that everyone responds positively, it means you have empathy with him. You're not just like blindly slapping on some philosophy, but you understand who this person is, who this group is, and you're able, and we're so clear and deeply fixed in the principles that we're able to find the words to communicate them effectively, no matter who we're speaking to. Now this, what do we call it, preaching or sharing, or we could have a conception of that's like, yes, for people who aren't devotees, but right in the, it's the second seed verse of Bhagavad Gita. Machita Machita Variantas Praspram Katyantas Chamam Nicham Tashanti Charamanti Chara. Krishna says that my followers, my devotees, they derive great bliss and enlightenment conversing about me. Great bliss and enlightenment. So that's vital preaching too. Right? We're endeavoring to be servants of Prabhupada. We're endeavoring to cultivate some, coming out of our material conditioning and realizing who we are as Jiva, Supori Krishna and Nichidan. So that in our association, wherever the spirit soul is identified in terms of the continuum of identifying itself as a servant of God, we're not, wherever, we're all someplace on the continuum. Wherever we are, that our opportunity is to be this person's best friend of this group of people. And that's so, because that's a material disease. I'll rescue you. I'll be your best friend. So Prabhupada signs his letters, your ever well-wisher. So Prabhupada, he was a master in being a well-wisher. And so we can also be best friends. We can also be a well-wisher.
Yes.
By endeavoring to connect people in whatever form. It could be telling a joke. It could be challenging them on their nonsense, in whatever form. To connect people with Srila Prabhupada. To support people to develop their direct personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Then to the extent that I'm doing that, I'm really being a friend. To the extent that I'm not doing that, I might feel good about the interaction, but I'm not serving them in their eternal life.
You're shortchanging.
According to Bhagavad Gita language, I'm committing violence. I'm wasting their time and wasting my time. That's a symptom of a devotee. Doesn't want to waste a moment. So I know that that's not me. But at least I want to cultivate that mentality. I don't want to waste a moment outside of Prabhupada's service. So to connect
people, to support people, inspire people, to cultivate their personal, direct relationship with Srila Prabhupada, than on being their true well-wisher. So of course, Rupa Goswami, he defines like 6 categories of exchange of affection between, the way I'll say it, between souls with some sincerity on the path of self-realization and enlightenment. You can say between Vaishnavas, and that's certainly true. At the same time, sometimes in our narrow understanding, we can develop a sort of sectarian mentality. Well, this one's a devotee, that one's not a devotee. I know, like, in our seminars these days, those who come to our seminars, 95%, they don't identify as devotees. Back when Gora took the seminars 14 years ago, everyone identified as a devotee. But the people come, and I'm so inspired by their association. Many of them are meat eaters, they don't know what the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is. By the end of the seminar, actually we've had many, dozens, if not hundreds, they become vegetarian, give up coffee, start chanting Hare Krishna, take to Prabhupada's movement after the seminars. But I'm very inspired by their association, because these are people serious about Atato Brahma Jigyasa, Jivasi Tattva Jigyasa, serious about inquiry into the absolute truth, serious about distinguishing what's a pretense, what's fake, and what's real. So they're in that process. They're in that process, and it's very inspiring. So Rupa Goswami says, Dadati Pratikrinati Guyamakati Prichati Bhunte Bhujayate Cheva
Sadvidam Pritilaksha.
Pritilaksha. Was it Sadhanam Pritilaksha?
Sadvidam?
Sadvidam. So Guyamakati Prichati. So that's very key. That's very key in all relationships. So to the extent that we're sincere in serving Prabhupada, all relationships are a forum, an opportunity to cultivate Krishna consciousness, cultivate distinction between who I am as a spirit soul and what is the material, what is matter, what is spirit. So that means that a devotee cultivates expertise in creating environments of Guyam Akiti Prichati, environments where everyone involved feels safe to share their mind in confidence, share their heart in confidence, to inquire confidentially. In a sense, creating environments in relationship where we feel safe to talk about things that don't feel safe, where we feel, this is a safe, protected, loving space to talk about things that I'm afraid to talk about in most areas of my life. So for sure, Guyamakiti Prichati, it could mean talking about the pastimes in Krishna book. It could mean talking about the cowherd boys. It could mean talking about, here's my anartha, here's where I've been deceiving myself. And if I have your permission, here's where I think you're really messing up. If I have permission, here's where I think you're really sabotaging yourself in your progress, and like that. So people don't care what you know till they know that you care. So if we're going to, like, Prabhupada, he has so many letters where he makes it, it's important that you're caring about each other, and that you're rectifying each other. But Prabhupada says, he says, it's best to do that with kind words. Mm-hmm. It's best to do that with kind words.
Yeah.
Right? So in the name of, like, hey Prabhu, you got an arches. I'm just, caring about your Krishna consciousness. Well, that probably reveals my anartha. At the same time, the process, like, we might be watering the Bhakti Lata beach, but if we're not pulling the weeds, then we know we're also watering the weeds. Every mantra we chant can increase my arrogance. Right? Every time I get up from Mangalarti, it increases my false pride. I'm not aware of it. They know I'm a devotee. So that if someone who gains my respect, love, and trust, and that I really get you care about me, and you help me to see my blind spots for my advancement, then you're really being a friend. Because I see you're not doing this because you want to feel better than me, because you're having a bad day and you're taking your anger out on me or something like that. You're really coming from a loving place. Then that's real Vaishnava friendship. So the verse reads, Atma pamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukham sayogi paramo mata. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings, both in their happiness and distress. O Arjuna. Hare Krishna. I thank you, Prabhus, for listening. And if there's any discussion, comments, realizations, questions, challenges, I'd welcome.
Yeah, actually, thank you so much for this inspiring class. And I wanted to touch this subject too when I was meditating of which type of Krishna Katha we would be engaged in. So my meditation yesterday morning was where or when does Krishna consciousness actually starts? Because Prabhupada, we know from the Lila in New York,
yes,
he did introduce the rules and regulations, even the 4 eggs, 16 rounds, up until the initiation, and even then, some people they're
kind of loose, true.
And Rupa Goswami too, he says in Upadeshamrita that following the rules and regulations simply for the sake of following, that's an impediment.
Yeah.
So I think you already touched it, but maybe if you would like to elaborate on that a little bit more deeper, if you like. When does it really start? From love, from hearing, from...
I appreciate that common question. Well, Krishna consciousness, if we just look at that term, it's a consciousness.
Yes.
Intrinsically has nothing to do with one's diet or chanting japa.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with anything external. Essentially, it's a consciousness. Now, we know there are external things that can support that consciousness, and external type of behaviors that get in the way. Achahara, prashascha, so there. But essentially, it's a consciousness. So like, let's say someone who, whatever their habits are, whether the wino in New York, he just somehow had some affection, so he, in the middle of a class, he brought in a roll of toilet paper. So that's it. He's on the path. He had some consciousness. I want to serve the Swami. And so he had some consciousness. So he's, his Bhakti Lata Beach it's growing. There are different approaches to your question, for sure. Like there's some, let's call it a rigorous, strict definition. Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga, does not start till after we've fully cleared all anarthas, till after the anartha nivritti stage. Then there's Nishta and Ruchi. So that's the strict definition, meaning like, okay, I probably won't start Krishna consciousness in this lifetime. Right? Okay. But then there's the liberal definition. Right? As soon as there's some consciousness to do some shravanam, kirtanam, serving the devotee, then that's there. And Prabhupada was, inconceivably expert. The first initiation. Right? Some of them were, we have to give up meat? And like stuff like that. But before the first initiation, Prabhupada, he engaged them in service. Engaged them in so much service. So their Krishna consciousness
had begun. So I was just saying, there's more rigorous
Yeah.
definitions and more liberal accommodating definitions.
Mm. And a lot of that, I was thinking, a lot of that service that Prabhupada engaged people in was stuffing them with prasadam,
For sure.
cooking it with his own hand and feeding them like they're his babies.
Cleaning after them.
Prasad's the secret weapon, Prabhupada said. My personal history, I literally consumed more than 1,000 plates of prasadam before I chanted one round of japa.
Wow.
It
worked.
It worked. So, but that was service. I was appreciating this. This is the best food I ever tasted. Wow. So, I don't know. Does that respond to your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ultimately, a Krishna consciousness is nitya. It's already there. Right. So
Right.
I guess pure devotee can ignite it because he sees everyone as eternally Krishna
Yeah.
conscious.
Nitya Sada Krishna Prema. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So it's there. It's covered, and then the pure devotee, or the sincere representative of the pure devotee, can awaken that remembrance of who we really are.
Okay, may I answer?
Yeah.
It's just another thought that came to me from a lecture from Prabhupada. You know, there's that verse by Rupa Goswami, Adao Shraddha Tata Sadhusanga. And your question specifically is, when does it begin? When did Krishna consciousness begin? Was
Yeah,
that-
I guess so.
Yeah.
When or where?
Okay, so I was hearing Prabhupada saying, when someone sees the Harinam party going by, and they have some appreciation, oh, what is that? He said, that's the beginning of faith. He equated faith with appreciation.
Yes.
And that's in one context.
Nice.
So,
That's the beginning.
yeah. So if people appreciate you're out there, you're wearing traditional Vaishnava garb, and you see your sincerity. I mean, just by putting ourselves out there, we're kind of like, it's an act of mercy in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's an advantage of the devotional dress.
Yes.
Yeah. People think, oh, Hare Krishna is here.
Where you guys been?
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, even though John Lennon might have been on a sugar bowl full of LSD at the time, when I was 13 years old and I heard him sing Elementary Penguin singing Hare Krishna, oh, what's that? Let me look at encyclopedia, Hare Krishna. The Hindu god of love, the god of the forest. Oh, that's a nice sounding god. It's a beginning.
They're getting something beginning. Something sparked. Nice.
We'll have a beginning and a different. That's why I love hearing devotees' stories.
That's right, yeah.
How did you first hear of Krishna?
Prabhupada actually wanted that to be back to God, I heard.
Yeah.
The coming to Krishna story.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Actually, there's a whole site about that. How I came to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Just dedicated. Please go if you have other questions. 'Cause I have many points and questions.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm putting you first.
Yeah, and another, more in which connected to the purification process,
Yes.
you mentioned that I think it's connected to Rupa Goswami, the same statement that by following the rules,
Tat karma pravartana.
yeah,
Yeah.
or there's another one, but
Yeah.
it might be an impediment to it.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Niyama.
in the same time, as we know, Bhajana Kriya, right, it's the state where we take voluntarily to the rules and regulations and to sadhana, in other words. So, how sadhana, something that meant to purify our anarthas,
Yeah.
would become, the source of our anarthas. Sadhana.
The thirst. Right.
Or enhancement of them.
And it's one of them. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, in any sort of chanting, there's purification.
Mhm.
But if I have a sort of calcified, fossilized consciousness where I'm not seeing the forest because of the trees, and it can become just, it can become a caste Brahmin mentality. I follow this religion, I follow that religion. Or like the Haredim, and there's 613 commandments, but until the temple, I think, then you follow 413 or something. But so that's the religious Jews, and they're really good at following rules and regulations. They got a lot of them. But whether it's a caste Brahmin or Haredim, I follow this and I follow that and I follow that. Now, these are rules and regulations in the Tanakh,
Yes.
or given by the Parampara.
What's Tanakh mean?
Tanakh is the Torah. The Torah, the Old
The
Testament.
scripture.
Yeah. So of course it's God. Of course there's a transmission. At the same time, but if I'm missing the point, just I follow this and I follow that and I follow it and I follow that, and let's say someone comes along and I treat them harshly. Kinestim in that lower level. Kinestim can also be pure devotee, but lower level of kinestim. And then like I'm missing the point that this is about transforming my heart from harshness and arrogance to soft, godly qualities. But I follow this, I'll chant my rounds. Chant my rounds. It's like, Prabhu, God can do this, do that, but I'm missing the point of I'm supposed to like be sincere.
Like Prabhu said, Prabhu, bring me my shoes.
Yeah,
Prabhu. You said we should call each other Prabhu, but he said not like Prabhu, bring me my shoes.
So I could follow the rules and regulations, even if sadhana bhakti given from Parampara. And I think the Haredim example is parallel.
Yeah.
But it's all meant to transform our heart and consciousness. And if we miss that point, then that becomes niyamagraha, following the rules and regulations and missing the essence.
Shravam eva kevalam.
Yeah. Useless waste of time. Come on.
What you just said reminds me of that saying, I don't know if it's biblical or not, but that one should be a follower of the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law.
That relates to it. I don't know the exact biblical, but that's it. So, of course, that's the point of niyamagraha. But there's two, but both ways they're unfavorable. So we want to be connected with the spirit. At the same time, that can also become a rationalization deception. I just love Krishna in my heart. I don't need to follow anything. So, well, okay. Because if we really love Krishna in the heart, we're going to enthusiastically do austerity and get up early to sing samsara prayers. So yeah, so we want to follow rules and regulations. So yeah, that's a good biblical example. The spirit is what's most important. At the same time, if there are external structures, letters of the law that can help us, we don't want to neglect them. That become call it a new agey sort of thing. I just love Krishna in my heart, and I don't follow any rules or regulations because it's odd, because that would stifle my real love of God and like that.
Well, I'm on the path of Raga Bhakti. I
Yeah.
don't need to chant 16 rounds anymore.
Yeah.
And actually, it's none of your business how many rounds I chant. Actually, it's nobody's business how many rounds anybody chants. I have a godbrother that preaches to me like this.
I'm not inquiring how many rounds you chant. I'm talking philosophical principle here.
Right.
And we can each apply it to ourselves however we choose to apply it to
Right.
ourselves.
Right.
I'm not coming after you and doing the Spanish Inquisition here. And if someone truly is on the platform of Raganuga, then it's true they don't need to chant 16 rounds because they're chanting 16,000 rounds every day. They're completely absorbed. There's that conversation with the devotees are sort of complaining, at 16, it's hard to do 16 rounds. And Prabhupada was like, 16? Why not 16,000? Why not 16 million rounds? Because Prabhupada's on, so Prabhupada didn't have to chant it, but he chanted his rounds anyway, as Krishna says. Just yada yada charity
Right.
Shrishtastan. So philosophically it's true. If someone's on that platform, they don't need to fulfill a vow every day. And it's not for me to determine what platform you're on. The philosophical principle is that, we want to, that if we still have any tinges of the modes of material nature, and I have a lot more than tinges,
then the process to get disentangled is to follow sadhana bhakti as given by a pure devotee in the parampara, and in doing sadhana bhakti, to not become attached to harmful and rules and regulations, to always keep conscious of the essential spirit and goal of transformation of consciousness. So that's the principle. We can all look at ourselves and apply it how we choose.
And what would be the transformation of consciousness?
Transformation of consciousness? Like everything described, like, okay, there's the symptoms of the soul described in the second chapter, the qualities of the devotee, actually experiencing myself free from getting anger out of false ego, free from jealousy and envy, experiencing the joy of the soul, experiencing detachment from matter, experiencing more and more enthusiasm, experiencing more and more glimpses of steadiness and taste, experiencing experiencing clarity of purpose, experiencing detachment from depression and debilitating anxiety and all those material states of consciousness, and actually, hey, like this, actually experiencing chant and be happy.
Yes.
All the qualities of devotee, all the symptoms. Not necessarily like the symptoms of ecstasy shown at the Mahabhava stage, but basically symptoms like in my PhD study on the Maha Mantra. And we show those who chanted, they had less stress, less depression, more life satisfaction, and that's completely consistent with Bhagavatam, with the description. So experiencing the soul turning to itself and realizing itself in its natural joy, experiencing non-attachment, non-reactivity to bodily and mental pains, all the qualities described in the 19 qualities of the process of knowledge in chapter 13, the qualities of enlightenment described in chapter 14, those who are beyond the modes, taking that out of theory and experiencing it. And
divine qualities described in chapter 16 as opposed to the Maya.
Yeah, that's right. Really feeling compassion and really
not being eager to be honored.
Not being eager to be honored. Seeing pebbles and gold is the same. Now, of course, as we're experiencing that, we might also humbly experience, I'm far away from being self-realized. But even that, it's just like, I'm aware of all of these defects in my character, so that's advancement. Because a year ago, 30 years ago, I wasn't even aware. I was just, I thought this is life. So that's a transformation.
Yeah, Prabhupada, in Upadeshamrita actually says that the devotee should know where he is at.
Yeah.
Not, live in a hallucination that he's a Mahabhagavad.
Yes.
And still, get angry at people or something like that.
Yeah, and kind of that hallucination, that's prakriti sahaja, which is kind of different, but basically thinking and presuming to act on platforms that are a lot more evolved than we really are. That's essentially the sahaja principle. We can think of sahaja as those who kind of fake dancing in ecstasy, Radha Krishna. At the same time, we might not do that, but we can see the sahaja principle in our own hearts. Just like we can think of Mayavadis or those who say that God has no form, or when Krishna appears, he says, I don't do that. Still, we can see the Mayavad principle in our heart. There's a story in one of the early, in 2nd Avenue, and some of the early disciples were, they heard Swami, some of his talks was talking about Mayavadis. So they would talk amongst themselves. I guess the Mayavadis are some obscure sect in South India. And then they would say, then 3 weeks later we realized, we're the Mayavadis. That's me.
There's a specific, if you don't mind me interjecting, a specific story where Kirtanananda, Prabhupada, says to Prabhupada, why are you always speaking against the Mayavadis and impersonalists? And Prabhupada said, the reason I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
The reason you have an issue with this is because you're a Mayavadi. That's why you're objecting. You put him on the spot.
Yeah, it can take many forms, like rules and regulations actually too. It's Sajaism, because you think that by following strictly some material rules, because it's material, you eat meat or you eat apple, it's the same matter. But the Sajya thinks that, oh, if I abstain from this and I do that and I bow down very, very flat with my head, then Krishna is going to be conquered. You make Krishna cheap.
Make it cheap, taking it cheaply.
Yeah, so it can take many forms, right? And
That, in other words, that Krishna is obliged?
yes.
Because I'm a first-class follower of the...
Yeah, because I'm chanting Hare Krishna, and Krishna, he has to appear in a deity, in a mantra, and, but
Depends what your intention is.
yeah,
That's
Your
an excellent
consciousness.
point. That's what you're saying, Prabhu, relates, because Prabhupada sometimes he equates the Sahajiyas and the Mayavadis and the caste Brahmins. Well, that would seem to be different sort of things. But like, the Sahaji idea is basically Krishna's body. Well, the Mayavadi idea is to make Krishna's body material, to bring Krishna down to our level. The Sahaji idea, it's the same but opposite. The Sahaji idea is to bring my body up to Krishna. My body is spiritual. And the caste Brahmins, because it's like it's taking it cheaply rather than really doing the heavy lifting of really transforming our heart, and like, I'm not in the center. Make Prabhupada the center. Make Lord Chaitanya's mission the center. I appreciate the discussion.
I was just thinking about the such example here of some quote-unquote gurus in India putting on a sari and thinking now I've become... Yeah. Now I'm more desirable to Krishna.
Yeah.
those are the first transvestites. Even in that, Krishna consciousness is beyond that. Up ahead.
But that would be a lot of advancement maybe for some transvestites. I mean, I'm not encouraging that, but
Yeah, at least
they're dovetailing.
Prabhupada says, even the Sahajis, they make advancement because they are chanting the names of it. It's offensive. We don't want to associate closely, all of that. But he said they make advancement. They're chanting the names of Krishna Radha, so
Right.
that's there.
Yeah, and another point I remember Prabhupada, he was saying that I don't remember where exactly it is, but the purpose of austerity is actually in devotional life is ultimately to associate with devotees, because like the people outside too, they're actually devotees. Like we already agreed that Krishna consciousness is eternally there. So we should, unless we see them as devotees, we will preach to them? We cannot be disturbed and preach. Then we'll be exposed.
Say that again?
If we don't see the outsiders as devotees, at least to a certain extent, we'll be too much disturbed to preach to them without the superiority complex. Because this is actually, from my understanding and experience, that as soon as you want to chastise or be heavy and you want to preach like this, people, they're just gonna block their ears.
You've lost them.
You lost them. Yeah. So the preaching has to be done in like a more like an equal level, at least externally for them. But if we're not doing the austerities for that reason, to subdue the superiority complex, then it's going to explode, especially on the new people, because we think, they don't see my anarthas, I can just tell them like this, like that, and they know that I follow, and I'm pure devotee for them. So go bring my shoes, bro.
Humility. Yeah, that's great, and I definitely see that myself. Hopefully less as the years go on, but because here's the thing, we really do have the best philosophy. I mean, it's just the most complete. It doesn't mean like I deserve it, but it just is the most complete and detailed.
In spite of me, in spite of us.
Whatever it is. But then I can be like
then that means I'm the best, or I can be talking to someone who has
Right.
no, no philosophy or just whatever. So I know I've felt superior, but it's not that I'm the best, but this is the best philosophy. And yeah, there can be a healthy spiritual pride. I'm honored to represent the Parampara. I'm honored, but that's different than like I know more than you. And then, it's immediate feedback, because even if I might have all these metaphors and arguments, all that I got from Prabhupada, like that. But if they feel, I've experienced so many times, if they feel I'm coming like, I'm smarter than you, I know more than you.
Self-righteousness?
Self-righteousness.
Holier than thou?
Exactly, then there's no transformation of heart.
No.
Because they see, they're not impressed with what they see in my heart.
And they're not attracted.
Not attracted.
Yeah, I was actually conversing with the Prabhus here that come sometimes. That I was asking them, what is the most attractive feature of a devotee, regardless of his level of advancement or whatever. So they would say knowledge, renunciation, this, but ultimately we cannot compete with none of those things on the material platform.
Yeah.
Because they don't see the knowledge or renunciation as something spiritual. For them it's, he's renounced because he wants to save some money for the next,
something like that, right?
Or so many things.
Yeah.
But humility, it's a spiritual, actually, I wouldn't say possession, but quality.
Yeah.
And no one can be, materially, no one can be humble, because everyone wants something.
Yes.
And the devotee, even in the beginning, actually when I was meditating on this point, when Krishna consciousness begins, I was doing some research, whatever, and then I stopped it. But then I went on with the morning program, and I read a class. And Prabhupada said in a class that the beginning means that they understand that they don't want anything back from Krishna. That's the definition of love. That's the beginning of love. So any devotee, you can actually be taught like this from the very beginning, that why do you need anything from Krishna, from other devotees, and from what I heard from Prabhupada, that's actually a lot of emphasis in these classes. It puts on that, especially in the early days. That God supplies to the birds and the bees. And
Yes.
no one is working.
They're not chanting.